do I really need a mic? I call this meeting to order at 12:30 p.m. Please stand for the pledge. We will now begin roll call. President Gunter. Here. Vice President Emanuele is here. Senator Lasarosa. Treasurer Weddle. Here. Chief Justice Nolan.
Here.
Senator Fisher.
Here.
Senator Zapata. Here. Senator Velez. You didn't update the Senator Sopin? Sopin. Our advisors, CFB, Webb, Wildcat Media, Esports. Our SAC rep is not here, and ResLife is not here, and, oh wait, we have, and our Director of Outreach. We will now move on to the approval of minutes and agenda. Do I have any discussion?
Motion to move the budget to the end of the resolutions to get the senders in.
I have a motion to move the Senate resolutions before the budget. Do I have any discussion on the well, first off, do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Velez. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Our President.
Why? I yield to Matt
It's
Fisher.
because we should get as many senders in before we discuss the budget, because I feel the more senders we have on the budget, the better the discussion will be.
Do I have any additional discussion? Our Treasurer.
I understand that, but also with regards to the senators who are in the audience are allowed to provide their input on the budget resolution, because it'll be open to the floor. I yield.
I have a thing for that. The problem is if we discuss the budget, there's a chance we discuss the budget so long enough that we don't get to the sender resolutions like we did last time. So if we just get the senders in now, we have the whole rest of the meeting after the sender resolutions are done to discuss the budget.
Esports.
Since the budget discussion is going to take as long as needed, shouldn't we give it ample time so we can have discussion? If we are going to push it back, we're going to cut that discussion off short and force another week when this budget is probably the most important thing on the table right now.
Our Chief Justice.
I just don't really think that's fair to the senators or our potential senators who we would like to vote on. They've been coming here now for 2 weeks, and I empathize and feel bad for them for having to constantly come and never know if it's going to be their turn to stand in front of that mic and give their pitch and talk to us. I feel that it's important that we swear them in this week. Additionally, those extra voices on the horseshoe will be extremely valuable.
Esports.
Are they not on the horseshoe until the end of the meeting as well? So even if we swear to them today, they would not be on the horseshoe, they're still going to be in the audience.
Our Chief Justice.
Sorry for misspeaking there. I was more just referencing hypothetically if it were to get postponed another week, at least in that case we would get those extra voices in the horseshoe. And yeah. I yield.
Do I have any additional discussion on the motion? Seeing as there is no additional discussion, we will now move into a period of voting. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstained. That motion passes 4-0-0. So now we will move back into discussion about the approval of minutes and agenda. Do I have any additional discussion? Our president.
Can I entertain a motion to skip all reports for today?
So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sopin. Do I have any discussion? Seeing as we have discussion. Our president.
It's just to give more time for getting the stuff that's on the table today done with. We don't really have much to report on, I don't think. And then worst case, we can just report on it during open forum.
Do I have any additional discussion? Seeing as there's no additional discussion, we will move into a period of voting. All those in favor of skipping all reports, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain. That motion passes 4-0-0. We will now move back into discussion of approval of minutes and agenda as a whole. Do I have any discussion? Our advisor.
From my understanding, those should be separate votes. We can't vote on both things at the same time. So you would vote on the minutes from last week, and then you would vote on the agenda. So you just need to make sure that per your agenda, you're separating them out for a vote. We can't combine them.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Okay, so then let's split that up. First, let's go into voting on approval of last week's minutes. Do we have any discussion about last week's minutes? Seeing as there's no discussion, all those in favor of approving last week's minutes, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those abstained? Last week's minutes pass 4-0-0. And now about today's agenda. Do I have any additional discussion at all? Seeing no additional discussion, we will move into a period of voting as well. All those in favor of approving this week's agenda, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those abstain. Today's agenda passes 4-0-0. Seeing as approval of minutes and agenda has concluded, we will now move into announcements. We do not have any announcements. We will now move into guest speakers. We do not have any guest speakers. We will now move into executive reports, which we have skipped. So now we will move into old business. We have no old business. We will now move into new business. Seeing as the budget has been pushed to the end, we will be starting with Senate Resolution 2425-06, Christopher Mavor's Senate confirmation.
Motion to accept resolution 2425-06.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher. You may proceed.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, hereby resolve. The purpose of this resolution is to confirm Christopher Marrose as senator in the student government at Utica. The executive board has nominated Christopher Marrose to fill a vacant senior senator position within the student government at Utica. Therefore, be it. Enact. The student government at Utica considers and confirms the nomination of Christopher Marrose as a senior senator. Therefore, be it. Resolve. It be resolved, contractual obligation pertaining the senator position shall be at the conclusion of the senator meeting which this resolution is adopted, and be it finally resolved, the Senate of the government of Utica will have an additional member to represent the students of SUNY Poly.
May Chris please come up to the microphone for the audience first before we move. Is Chris in attendance?
No, I think, didn't we tell us that we weren't going to be here?
Or esports?
Just want to say, it may just be my eyes, it seems like that resolution is not in the agenda. Can we just get that amended as it's not there right now? It was an email that I got.
Okay. That resolution is being sent out as we speak. That is not just your eyes, don't worry. That was, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Is Christopher in attendance? Motion to table this resolution for 1 week. So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sopin. That resolution 2425-06 will be tabled for 1 week. We will now move on to resolution 2425-07, Daniel Byers Senate confirmation.
Motion to accept Senate Resolution number 2425-07.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Zapata. Daniel Byers, please come up to the microphone as you read it.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve the purpose of this resolution is to confirm Daniel Byers as a senator in the student government at Utica. Whereas the executive board has nominated Daniel Byers to fill a vacant junior senator position within the student government at Utica. Therefore, be it enacted, the student government at Utica considers and confirms the nomination of Daniel Byers as a junior senator. Therefore, be it resolved, the contractual obligations pertaining to Senate position shall begin at the conclusion of the Senate meeting in which this resolution is adopted, and be it finally resolved, the Senate of the student government at Utica will have an additional member to represent the students of SUNY Poly. I'm going to make a motion to limit it in questioning to 3 questions.
I have a motion to limit to 3 questions. Do I have any, first of all, do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Zapata. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Our president.
Can I entertain a motion to amend your motion to have it be 3 questions and then move into executive session?
Yes.
Do I have a so moved? So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sopin. Do I have any discussion about the amendment of the motion? Seeing as there's no discussion, all those in favor of amending the motion to limit to 3 questions and then immediately move into executive session, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain. The motion has been amended and it has passed 4-0-0. We will now move back into discussion of the original motion, now amended, to account for moving into executive session. Do I have any additional discussion on the motion? Seeing no additional discussion, we will now move into a period of voting. All those in favor of limiting to 3 questions and then immediately moving into executive session, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain. That motion passes 4-0-0. We will now begin our 3-questioning period. Who will be at, well, before we ask any of the questions, may the candidate please give a brief, just introduce yourself.
I'm Daniel Byer. I'm running for a senator position here at SUNY Poly. I feel I can help represent the students here at SUNY Poly. Background, I'm a mechanical engineer here at SUNY Poly, and I used to be a scout.
All right. Do I have a first question? Senator Fisher.
Any previous leadership experience?
The previous leadership experience I've had is as a senior patrol leader within scouting. So essentially I set up meetings, conducted meetings, and planned agendas for my scout patrol.
Wildcat Media.
What is one issue on campus that you notice that you want to change?
One of the biggest ones that I've noticed is mainly with the food this semester. It has gone down slightly, and so if that can be improved, that'd be good.
Our advisor.
I don't have a question for you, I apologize. Wildcat Media, is there any working mic that we could maybe get them?
While we get this
It's not,
issue.
It's not working. And
Oh, sorry.
It's not working. It's not working because of the mic.
Okay, so while they resolve this microphone issue, do I have a final question? Senator Sopin.
Are there any other issues besides food on campus that you could solve?
I mean, the major concern being a voice for the students here at City Poly is what I wish to desire.
Seeing as our 3 questions have concluded, we will now be moving into executive session. I ask that all audience members please leave the room, and we will let you back in shortly. We're good? All right. The motion passes. We will now move on to Resolution 2425-08. John Bernativ, I'm sorry, I can't, please come up to the microphone, as. What? Bernatovitz. Do I have a motion for this resolution? Who's?
Motion to accept resolution number 242508.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher. You may proceed.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve. The purpose of this resolution is to confirm John Bernatovitz is as senator in the student government at Utica. We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve whereas the executive board has nominated John Bernatovitz to fill a vacant junior senator position within the student government at Utica, therefore be it enacted, the student government at Utica Senate considers and confirms the nomination of John Bernatovitz as a first-year senator, therefore be it resolved, be it resolved, contractual obligations pertaining to the Senate position shall begin at the conclusion of the Senate meeting in which the resolution is adopted, and be it finally resolved, the Senate of the student government at Utica will have an additional member to represent the students of SUNY Poly.
Our president.
Can I entertain a motion to update in enacted first year to junior? Wait.
Do I have a motion to amend the resolution? Motion by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Velez. Do we have any discussion? Our president.
I forgot to update that when I was copying one and updating it for the next person. So it says, it says junior in the whereas, but it says enacted in the first year, or first year and enacted. I just want to update that so we have that continuity to say junior in both.
Any additional discussion? Seeing no additional discussion, we'll move into a period of voting. All those in favor? All those opposed? And all those abstain? The motion to amend the resolution passes 4-0-0. Senator Fisher.
Motion to limit questioning to 3 questions, then move it directly into executive session.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Velez. Do I have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we will move into a period of voting. All those in favor? All those opposed? And all those who abstain. That motion passes 4-0-0. Before we begin our 3 questions, I ask the candidate to introduce themselves.
Hello, I am John Bernatovitz. I am a transfer student here. I just transferred in. My major is computer science. I have an abundance of leadership experience, and I've held many positions in the past. Thank you for the opportunity to consider me as a part of your Senate.
We will now move into our 3-question period. Senator Fisher.
When you said previous leadership experience, can you describe those roles and what the titles were?
Oh, what was that last part?
What the titles were?
Yeah, of course. So in the past, I was a mentor for multiple levels of FIRST Robotics. So I have organized meetings, I have organized students, I have worked with students, tried to make sure that our budgeting in FRC and FTC goes smoothly, ordering parts. When I turned 18, I became the assistant manager of a gas station that I used to work at. There I held training. I made sure that all of the closing and opening procedures were handled properly. And considering that I was also training mostly high school students, I think that also speaks to the level of experience and leadership skills needed to get that done.
Oh, sorry, our treasurer.
Why are you seeking to become a senator?
So I have a few reasons. One, I have a really big interest in politics and philosophy and philosophical aspects of politics. When I first transferred in here, I became aware of SGU, and I saw that you guys actually do things, which is quite nice. And the last thing is I like to help, and I was asked by multiple people to join SGU, and I was said that the people who asked me to, they thought that I'd be good for the role. So that was the final push that I needed to consider this position.
And our final question. Don't all raise your hand at once. Our Director of Community Outreach.
How do you think that your previous experience in leadership will help you succeed on the Senate?
So because of my previous leadership experience, I have greatly learned that I am not always right. I've definitely learned how to listen to the people around me and weigh all of our options and weigh the concerns of every single person involved within the realm of what my decisions will impact. That is probably the biggest.
Seeing as our 3 questions have concluded, we are now moving back into executive session. I ask that all audience members please leave the room. We are live. That motion passes. And just to clarify, when we say the motion passes, that means our candidate has been welcomed into our Senate. Just in case that was not clear. So far, congratulations to our 2 candidates. Resolution 2425-09, Natasha Carpenter.
Resolution 2425-09.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher. You may proceed.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, hereby resolve. The purpose of this resolution is to confirm Natasha Carpenter as a senator in the student government at Utica. The executive board has nominated Natasha Carpenter to fill a vacant sophomore senator's position within the student government at Utica. Therefore, be it enact. The student government at Utica Senator considered and confirmed the nomination of Natasha Carpenter as a sophomore senator. Therefore, be it resolved. It be resolved. Contractual obligation pertaining to the Senate position shall be at the conclusion of the Senate meeting in which this resolution is adopted. And be it finally resolved, the Senate of the Student Government at Utica will have an additional member to represent the students of SUNY Poly.
Any discussion before we begin? Senator Fisher.
Motion to limit questioning to 3 questions and then move into executive session.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sopin. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? All those opposed? And all those who abstain? That motion passes 4-0-0. Before we begin our 3 questions, I like to ask the candidate to please introduce themselves.
Hi.
We are aware of that. Don't worry about that. It's just more for, let's throw your hand first.
We only have 3 first-year positions, and they got filled up. So we're just putting you as a sophomore, but you're still a first year. Yeah.
Do we have our first question? Senator Sopin, I saw your hand first.
I just really wanted to be involved with this college. Yeah, I just really wanted to be involved.
Our treasurer, I saw your hand.
I saw this question from media. What's an issue on campus that you'd like to address?
Like student involvements in events. I've been to quite a few events, and there's not really that many like students involved, and I just want them to be more involved to like have fun while they're here.
Senator Fisher.
How will you use that previous leadership experience in this role?
Or
how do you think it will help you in this role?
I think it helps me with just knowing how to like communicate issues and just be involved with the discussion.
Seeing as our 3 questions have concluded, we will now be moving into executive session. I ask audience members to please leave the room. We will let you back in. That motion passes. Welcome to our Senate. We will now move on to Resolution 2425-10. Robert Dobe. Dobe. Who
Hello.
is reading that one?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Motion to accept Senate Resolution number 2425-10.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher. You may proceed.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Government at Utica, do hereby resolve the purpose of this resolution is to confirm Robert Dobe as Senator in the student government at Utica. We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve whereas the Executive Board has nominated Robert Dobe to fill a vacant junior senator position within the student government at Utica. Therefore, be it enacted, the student government at Utica Senate considers and confirms the nomination of Robert Dobe as a junior senator. Therefore, be it resolved, contractual obligations pertaining to the Senate position shall begin at the conclusion of the Senate meeting in which the resolution is adopted, and be it finally resolved, the Senate of the student government at Utica will have an additional member to represent the students at SUNY Poly.
Do I have any discussion? Senator Fisher.
The 3 questions, then move into executive session.
Do I have a second to the motion? Seconded by Senator Zapata. Sorry. Do I have any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? And all who abstain? That motion passes 4-0-0. Before we begin our 3 questioning period, I would like for the candidate to please introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Robert Dobe. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and I feel that I would be a good fit on your Senate because of my past leadership experience as well as my strong work ethic and my drive to succeed.
Our treasurer.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that leadership experience?
I was elected president of my school's chapter of Rho Kappa National Honor Society. That was a history honor society, as well as working and training several members of my team at Panera, where I worked before I came here. And I had been elected to other positions in National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, and as well as being nominated as a captain of my track and field team.
Esports.
What do you think the biggest issue on campus is right now?
I believe that the biggest issue on campus is lack of student involvement, as students do pay upfront with their tuition for a student activities fee. I do feel that it would be for everybody's best interest to be working more to attend the events that they are paying for upfront.
And Senator Sopin.
How would you get more students to attend web events or esports events?
I believe that the best way to do that is to advertise the ability to create clubs and organizations, as well as get events sponsored that students are talking about, that through the Senate, and having meetings with students to see what they would want brought to SUNY Poly.
Seeing as our 3 questions have been asked, we will now be moving into executive session. I ask all audience members to please 76 degrees outside, dude. 76 degrees outside. What do you need hot cocoa for? What if you break 64 ounce? We're good. All right. That motion passes. We will now be, oh, yeah, welcome. That motion passes. Welcome to our Senate. Yay. We will now move into discussion about Resolution 2425-11, Priscilla Nowak Senate confirmation.
One sec. Motion to accept Senate Resolution number 2425-11.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sopin. You may proceed.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve the purpose of this resolution is to confirm Priscilla Nowak as senator in the student government at Utica, whereas the executive board has nominated Priscilla Nowak to fill a vacant graduate senator position within the student government at Utica. Therefore, be it enacted, the student government at Utica considers and confirms the nomination of Priscilla Nowak as a graduate senator. Therefore, be it resolved, the contractual obligations pertaining to the Senate position shall begin at the conclusion of the Senate meeting in which this resolution is adopted, and be it finally resolved, the Senate of the student government at Utica will have an additional member to represent the students of SUNY Poly.
Our advisor.
Point of clarification. The spelling, I believe, is incorrect.
The spelling's correct, the pronunciation's wrong.
Sorry. I apologize.
I don't know if I should, I don't want to.
Nope, you're good.
How about before we continue, could we please get clarification of pronunciation? Novak.
Sorry, I thought that. Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. All
I
right.
thought that would be a
So,
V.
our president.
I was going to say stand in the mic, but.
Okay. Senator Fisher.
To limit questioning the 3 questions and then move into the executive session.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sopin. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, all those who abstain. That motion passes 4-0-0. Before we begin our questioning, I would like for the candidate to please introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Priscilla Novak. I am a graduate student here in our CS program. I was also an undergraduate here for all 4 years. I have multiple experiences while on campus with student leadership and student involvement, with being secretary of multiple clubs and also being secretary for an entire academic year for the club funding board. While I was secretary for these events, I was still a part of a lot of time planning events and planning meetings, and then running said meetings during this. And while along with this, I was also involved with getting community outreach for most of these clubs. And in the beginning of this semester, I led a student-led petition that while it did fail, it did get a lot of student engagement, and I was able to successfully get at least a tiny bit of the students' voices heard. And that is my experience with leadership.
Seeing as the introduction has concluded, we will move into our questions. Who would like to ask the first question? Our president.
What goals would you have as a senator?
My main goals are many, but one of the big things that I want to work on is trying to prevent what happened this semester with student government and getting that through to get that fixed, so that way we can specifically update the federal government, so that way we no longer have this problem, or at least continuing change of command so we can try and prevent it from happening again. Along with this, as somebody who has a food allergy, I would like to try and increase the food allergy options, as there have been multiple times in which things were not properly labeled as gluten-free or not, which is my allergy. There was a huge problem of cross-contamination in both the CC and the SC, and there is also sometimes not enough options, as I've been told by multiple vegan students or vegetarian students that they have to skip meals because they do not have the options given to them.
Wildcat Media.
You mentioned you had background in marketing. If you get sworn into the Senate, how will you market SGU to members of the school who don't know what SGU is?
One of the best ways of doing this is, at least in my opinion, doing a mixture of email, getting it mentioned at club or events, and then also going through things that are more official, such as the official SUNY Poly Wildcat Esports Discord, which is more active when it comes to students, to try and get it mentioned to them. Along with this, since I know one of the biggest problems we have currently, at least within the graduate students, is a majority of our graduate students are not involved on campus in any capacity, especially with SGU. I would try and bring us up to other graduate students when it is appropriate and does not interfere with classwork. So before or after class, maybe mention it a tiny bit, or ask the professor if I could have permission to do so.
And our final question. Our treasurer.
You've mentioned food and specifically the fiasco that happened with student government earlier this year as two things you want to change. If you could think of a third thing that you're looking to change or even just improve on campus, what would it be?
One of the other things that really impacts me, at least as a woman, is the fact that there is multiple blue lights that are out on campus that have not been repaired since last semester, and they've been out. With one of the most egregious examples being the blue light that's at the entrance of Hilltop. I'm not sure how it is for everyone else on campus, but at least for me, in my experiences, I do not fully feel safe walking around campus at night, especially since a lot of the lights are dim. But the blue lights at least try and help alleviate this, since I know if there is going to be an incident or anything like that, I can use them. But having the blue lights be broken is something that completely removes that safety net.
Seeing as our 3 questions have concluded, we will now be entering executive session. I ask that all audience members please And we are back. That motion passes. Welcome to our Senate. Our Chief Justice. Oh. Our Chief Justice.
I would like to entertain a motion to move open forum to 150.
So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sopin. Do I have any discussion on this motion? Our President.
Why? To give us time to discuss the budget, because as of now, we have 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Well,
5 minutes.
now we have 5 minutes to pass this.
Media.
I think that, like, just as a point, I think it'll take more than 10 minutes for us to discuss the budget, but obviously I respect that people have class and obligations at 2 o'clock.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of pushing open forum back to 150, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain. That motion passes 4-0-0. Seeing as open forum has been pushed back, we will now move into discussion of Resolution 2425-04, the budget. What? Yeah, that's why I'm reading it. So motion by Senator Fish.
Motion to accept Senate Resolution number 2424-04.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Zapata.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve this resolution aims to create a budget for the student government at Utica and its subsidiary organizations, whereas the Executive Board has created a new budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, given the already passed 2024-2025 budget from Senate Resolution number 2324-15 was rejected by the SUNY Poly administration. Therefore, be it enacted, the SGU Senate supports and endorses the attached budget to be put in place for the current fiscal year of 2024. Therefore, be it resolved that this budget will allow SGU and its subsidiaries to carry out its mission statement and cater to the students of SUNY Poly.
Do we have any discussion on the resolution? Our treasurer.
I would like to make a request to entertain a motion to modify Wildcat Media's depreciation line to be set to $2,700 instead of the $3,600. Additionally, I would like to create a new line under CFB allocated for depreciation and have it be set to $2,600. I'd like to modify the depreciation line under SGU to be set to $5,700 instead of the current $5,500.
Do I have a motion? Yeah, so moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Velez. All those in favor of
We have discussion on the motion.
okay, do we have any discussion? Media.
I know what those lines mean, but would you mind explaining to those who don't know what the dispersion line is to the floor?
Certainly. So, SGU has assets, right? When we purchase a item, right, that's worth $2,500 or more, it has to be recorded on our asset sheet. Excuse me. That asset depreciates in value over time, much like a car. You might buy it for $20,000, but 10 years later, it's not going to be worth $20,000. It's going to be worth a lot less. So, to account for the value of these assets, they're worth going down over time, we have to create lines within our budget that say depreciation, right? And essentially what this is just the total amount that an asset will have lost value by the end of the year. For example, if an asset depreciates in value by a rate of $50 per month, right? 12 months, $600, we have to put a value of $600 into our depreciation line to reflect the fact that that asset's value has gone down. Does that clarify depreciation?
Do we have any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion on okay, seeing as discussion is concluded, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, all those who abstain. That passes 4-0-0. We will now move back into discussion of the resolution at hand. Esports.
I'd like to entertain a motion to change line 106 in Wildcat Esports budget publicity coordinator from the proposed budget of $700 down in line with the other ones to $450.
Do I have a so moved? So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Second by Senator Sopin. Any discussion on this motion? Senator Velez.
Explain, because I'm kind of confused on what he's saying.
I'm going to yield to esports for that one.
So, I want to change the line for our publicity coordinator or our social media manager. It's currently at $700. I believe that is unfair to the other members of our org, as that is a very large amount for what the job entails. I want to bring it down in line with the other members who have similar job requirements.
Do we have any further discussion on this motion? Seeing no, media.
Entertain
Point of order, we're still discussing esports motion. Do we have any more discussion about esports motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All those who abstain? That motion passes 4-0-0. Media.
$2,700. So far, we only have 2 updated cameras, and I want to make sure that we're able to purchase adequately the 2 more cameras needed to complete the circuit. The new cameras, the reason why it won't fit in that $6,000 budget is we also want to be able to buy a new processor for the TV card. As the new cameras carry much more high quality, the TV card will not be able to process the high quality.
Does anyone so move? So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Second by Senator Zapata. Let's enter discussion on this motion. Do we have any discussion on this motion? Seeing as there's no discussion, we move into a period of voting. All those in favor? All those opposed? And all those who abstain. That motion passes 4-0-0. Do we have any further discussion about our budget? Our audience member?
Okay, so a part of this budget is changing printing to being outside of the org lines, but that wasn't motion, so how is that possible? Is printing in the org lines themselves, or they? Okay, so
we're gonna. I'm gonna. Oh,
okay.
You can.
So, I have a concern with this because years ago, we changed it so that web would be who we went, where organizations went to for funding for live events. We changed that system back in this recent budget to have it so that orgs would cover their own live events purchases, such as equipment, food, and everything like that. I have a concern that we are doing the same system with this printing change by making it so that SGU now has everyone's printing line, which means that now every single organization will have to rely on will have to send any requests for printing to student government first before even we can't put it in our purchase proposals at all.
Our treasurer.
My understanding of how the printing process works, right? You would receive an invoice for whatever you're looking to print. We work through the print shop, right? They send us invoices. We received one recently for our copier, right? They send us an invoice. The money would just be coming out of the SGU line. You could still print things as you always have. I yield to our advisor to add any additional clarification.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, same thing. I have a microphone. Apologize, I'm sharing today. Correct. Our treasurer is correct, but I also wanted to add too that your flyers are already going through CSI to be approved, so they don't need to go through student government still. And like Grayson had mentioned too, the way that it works is all of your printing will go under one bill, and then it's sent to student government anyway. Typically, it's sent to the office manager, and they will go in and process it anyway. So it just is one line rather than
several lines. So I'm gonna yield to Wildcat Media.
I think he's more talking about less in the case of posters and more in the case of our 300 printed copies of the Factory Times every semester. Sam?
Point of order? Okay, well, seeing as we are about to reach our 1:50 time limit, I would like to entertain a motion to table this budget discussion for 1 week. So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Velez. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing as there's no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain. That motion passes 4-0-0. The budget resolution has been tabled for 1 week. Seeing as new business has concluded, we will now move into a period of open forum and swear-ins. We will first begin with swear-in. So if anyone is being sworn in, so any senator confirmed today, as well as any other position that is being confirmed, please come into the horseshoe now. That's a lot of people.
Who are you supposed to be?
Sparkle from Honkai Star Rail.
What is that?
It's a gotcha game.
What's that?
A gotcha game? Don't know what that game is?
What's a gotcha game? A what?
What's semi-game? From last week? I do have something for open forum.
We can have the
considering my dual citizen nationality situation in the country.
That's good.
Hello? Media. Hello? I need my mic.
President.
I'm so jealous. Hello? Hello? All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I,
Dylan Moriarty, will faithfully uphold the student government at Utica Constitution
the student at Utica Constitution.
and carry out the duties of state your organization and position
Wildcatting Sports Government Graduate Sentinel.
to the best of my ability
To the best of my ability.
and will represent the students of SUNY Poly
And will represent the students of SUNY Poly
in a fair and unbiased manner.
in a fair and unbiased manner.
All right, congratulations.
To anyone that was just sworn in, please fill out the paper on the front table before you go back to the audience seats.
Move that sheet over so we can have 2 lines. Yeah.
We have.
Let me see if I have a third. We can get a third one. I've got a third.
Can we please move the papers away from the executive table? Can we please move it over there? Off the Senate table. We need to be able to see everyone. So please move all the paper. What he said. Hi, Billy. As the papers are being filled out, we will. Can we please move the confirmation papers to the white table over there? Over there where media is. While the papers are being filled out, do we have any discussion for open forum? Our audience member.
It's me again. This time, I'd like to talk about how it's 79 degrees out, and ResLife has already decided to shut off all the air conditioners and fans in the residential buildings. Yeah. So, it gets annoying when it's 80 degrees out and we can't turn a fan on, because, like, we're paying a lot to be here. There's no reason for the fans to be off.
Media.
Basically, Mike 101, as their new senators listen to this. This is your mic pack. Please do not touch anything on here. It says mute, but we mute it from the board far away. If you turn this mute, we will not be able to hear you at all. You have to wear your mic on your face at all times. If you hold it up, it interferes with the communication between it and the mixer. And the last thing is, please do not wrap the wires around the mic box. It will cause damage to the wire. If your mic is not being picked up by the mixer, it is because of a connection issue. Connection issues are not our fault. No one can happen. We bought antennas to further make the connection stronger. It sometimes doesn't work. Technology fails sometimes. Also, keep in mind, Ronnie, who's controlling your mics, it's his second meeting on the job, so please be nice to him. So, yeah. So please be kind. And that's all I wanted to say. If your mic has an issue, we will find out before you do, and we might come behind you in the meeting. Please, I yelled.
Our audience member.
I just have a quick question with the Pledge of Allegiance, especially since I've just gotten the senator job and we do the pledge at the beginning of every thing. As somebody who has dual citizenship and does not have full allegiance to the United States of America, I'm asking how that is going to affect me, as I do not feel comfortable pledging allegiance to one country or even standing up, because it still kind of shows that pledge.
I think they could sit
We will investigate.
Okay, thank you.
Our audience member.
Yeah, I want to know who approves stipends, because I want to say the stipends for our employees at Webb are beyond ridiculous, nowhere near acceptable, and they are not getting paid anywhere near where they should be for the work they're doing.
That is during, that's for the budget talk.
Great, I hope we get to that next meeting.
We will. Our advisor.
I don't have it on.
Yeah, you have to wear them.
I don't talk much, so it's okay. So in response to I don't know where you went. The stipend. Oh, hey there. What's in the budget right now is really, it's a holdover. When we met for budget, the conversation was really that we are going to do a deep dive into stipends this year. We're going to take our time. We're going to do cross checks and see what other campuses are doing, take into account the level of work that each position is. Right now, it's just to standardize. Everyone on this budget received some sort of increase. Does not mean it's accurately representing what the job is. That's what we're going to spend this year looking at, so that when we arrive at budget for the approval for next year, hopefully it'll be better represented.
Okay, so like this year though, when can we expect to know a number?
Our treasurer.
So that would be during budget committee. As a reminder, all committees are open to the public. Students are welcome to come, attend, share their thoughts, etc. Stipends, every single stipend was either left the same as it was in the previous year, increased by approximately 15%, with the exception of Wildcat Media's motion, esports' motion to adjust the publicity coordinator and our chief justice role. Those were decreased slightly, some positions were cut, but other than that, every single stipend has either stayed the same or received an increase. We understand that these amounts are not necessarily what people are looking for, and again, that's something we want to explore in budget committee for the following year, but given the fact that we have no operating budget at the moment, we felt it was more important to get a budget on the table and get that through so students can start spending their student activity fee money that they're, paying to be here.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Do we have any additional discussion for open forum? Oh, our Director of Community Outreach.
Could you please just allow everyone, like how would the audience know when and where the budget meetings take place?
Those will be determined shortly. Now that we have a much more fuller Senate, the senators will be. We're going to be working with the senators to set up committees, and then the times and the places will be set up. But usually the committees usually take place in the student government conference room. However, times will be announced when the senators are assigned, and we just get the ball rolling.
To add on to that a little bit, whenever we do committee reports, they'll also note, hey, we also meet during these times, or they should note, hey, we meet during this time, this place.
Okay.
So they should be there as well.
Thank you.
Anything else? Our audience member.
I just have a question about the budget still. So when I signed up to do the job at Webb that I'm doing, I was promised a certain amount for a stipend per semester. Where did that number come from? Because what it's at right now is way lower than that. So what happened?
Our treasurer.
So with regards to that, I don't know who made that promise. My guess is they did not have the authority to make that promise. And insofar as that goes, it sucks, but we can't help you, right? Because if someone else makes a promise, you know, if someone standing in the audience says, here, I'll give you $5,000 to run web every semester, sure, they can make that promise, but that doesn't mean we have to fulfill it. Yield to media.
The number came from the budget that was shut down by the school's administration. So the budget was passed last semester. It got to the table of the school. The school said, we are not passing this, and that's why they have to change the numbers back.
Our president.
I do want to clarify. I'm not necessarily saying that we don't want to support you and have like that stipend increase. We can't right now. Without reworking our budget and reworking how stipends actually work as a whole, we cannot do that yet.
Our audience member.
All right, so I've heard a lot of we're gonna do a full stipend deep dive and rework them. Now I've heard this every year for 3 years now. This is the 4th year where I'm hearing this statement. When will this actually be done? Because I've heard a lot of, oh, it'll be done, and then the second year said, you said that last year, we'll be done this time. And I hear, yeah, we're definitely going to do it this time. And then it hasn't gotten done, and it hasn't gotten done, and it hasn't gotten done. So when is this full stipend rework actually coming, and when is it just empty
We
promises?
understand your concern, and hopefully this year, I'm going to yield to our treasurer for a better answer.
So with regards to that, when the e-board and our advisors, when we were going over the budget, right, the question of stipends came up, and we actually began doing that deep dive. We started thinking about, okay, how do we justify these amounts? How do we say this person gets this much, this role gets this much, and so on and so forth? And then we realized that to do that would add on another 4, 5, maybe even 6 weeks to the process. And we decided, as a group, that it would be better to just get a budget on the table, allow students to be able to have their activity fee money spent, right, on events, organizations, clubs, everything else, and table that essentially for budget committee. We do already have an idea of how we're going to approach this process, and we're just really waiting for budget committee to get started. Thank you.
Our audience member.
That's another stipends question, but this one's a bit different. At the beginning of this semester, there was a promise that people who were already in positions would get their full stipends, even though they were not going to be sworn in until now. How is that? Is that going to affect us new senators who wanted to be in the Senate before but could not due to the situation? Will we get our full budget, or are we still only going to get like a fourth of our budget?
That's financial policy. Our treasurer.
And I'm going to yield back to Bailey in just a moment. With regards to senators, I don't think it would apply. With regards to org heads and people who have been working within orgs in a unofficial acting capacity, I don't know offhand. That's a conversation that we're going to have. I yield to our advisor.
Yeah, so one thing that's unique about the Senate position rather than some of our orgs is that we did hold an election for senators, so there was an opportunity for senators to apply and, you know, run and all of those things. So they would have received that budget. So there was an opportunity for Senate. Some of our orgs, though, had to go through a process, so that's why the orgs would get that.
As this I was also asking, because I know my situation's a bit more unique, because in the beginning of the semester, I was acting as unofficial CFB chair, and then I tried to apply for CFB chair and got denied the position before then having to reapply the senator, so therefore I was not able to run as senator in the election. So, I mean, I understood that most likely when I was going to senator, I was going to give up that promise that was happening in the beginning of the semester, but I still thought I should at least double check.
Our treasurer.
So it sounds like there's two different parts to this, right? There's your senator stipend, which is one thing, and then insofar as whatever unofficial acting volunteer capacity you're acting in with regards to CFB, that would fall under a different stipend. So first, regarding your senator stipend, it applies from the moment you're sworn in. In our financial policy, there's a breakdown. Depending on what week you were sworn in, you receive a different percentage of your stipend. So that would apply for your senator stipend. Regarding CFB, again, larger conversation. We're just going to have to get back to you on that.
Got it. Thank you.
Our president.
Can I entertain a motion to leave?
So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Second by Senator Sopin. Any discussion? No? Perfect. All those in favor?
Adjournment.
All those opposed? And all those who abstain? We are now adjourned, because that motion passes 3-0-0. We are now adjourned at 2:04 PM.